ESPN and the American Le Mans Series welcome you to live qualifying coverage. It's the Grand Prix of Baltimore presented by SRT. Well, the Preakness Stakes, it has horsepower, but nothing like qualifying from here at the Grand Prix of Baltimore that you're about to see. Welcome, everyone. I'm Brian Till, along with Johnny O'Connell and Greg Kramer. It is a warm and humid day, and already throughout practice, Johnny, there's been plenty of excitement.
You know what, Team BMW, they aren't the only ones really pushing the limits. So many guys are feeling the pressure of not having a lot of track time here, taking chances, lots of contact. Even Bruno Junqueira, a guy with a lot of experience, having issues. All the tire barriers are being tested, and we're not even at qualifying yet.
Charlie Shears with a problem. 5 different classes of cars in the American Le Mans Series. Greg Kramer, tell us how they'll line up to qualify.
Well, they'll break it into 4 separate groups. Each session will run in 15-minute blocks. What this does is it allows the cars from each class to be alone on the track, gives them good track space, not worrying about faster cars coming up or overtaking slower cars. Each class is guaranteed 10 minutes of minimum, guaranteed 10 minutes of track time, green flag running. Qualifying order from slowest to fastest, GT Challenge, GT LMP Challenge, and then P1 and P2. And I think especially of note, being a street circuit, every time we change groups, more rubber down on the track, more grip.
And the 10 minutes is going to be absolutely critical. If somebody has a problem, it could stop a session. Nelson Canache, Spencer Pumpelly lead the GTC Championship, but 4 points isn't comfortable, Johnny.
Not at all. You got to remember, in the American Le Mans Series, a win is worth 22nd is 16. All these guys right here, this thing is up for grabs, and qualifying is important. We're going to see who has the goods just momentarily.
Well, and it's interesting, each of those 3 groups, 2 wins apiece. This is the 7th round. They have controlled the win column, and that is a huge story. And we've got a great cadre of pit reporters. They are ready down in pit lane. And first of all, with one of our points leaders, Spencer Pumpelly, a local driver, is Jamie Howe.
Well, Spencer Pumpelly is the most recent pole sitter, but he's also the most recent race winner at Road America, and that is what got him and Nelson Canache into the GTC points lead. So, Spencer, as we look forward to qualifying, how important is this session for you guys?
It's going to be pretty important. You know, Nelson's done an awesome job at the start of these races. He's a big reason for our success. But at the same time, it's so hard to pass here that I don't want to leave him too many spots to get through. So I really want to get a good qualifying in the books and start from close to the front, if not the front.
This is one of only 2 street races that we do in the American Le Mans Series. How does that change things for you as a driver?
The qualifying is definitely exciting around here. And Kramer, if he's in the booth, I remember you mentioned Lime Rock was exciting, Road America wasn't. I can't guarantee the pole, but I'll guarantee you this one will be exciting.
All right, well, Nelson and Spencer are not the only ones vying for a win here in GTC. Jeremy Shaw's with another.
Over here, but you took to this track very quickly this morning.
Yeah, it was good fun. It's a nice place here at Baltimore, and just very bumpy. It's definitely different to Monaco, but at the end of the day, it's a street track, and I excel in them. I love them, but yeah, quickest in free practice 1, but not so quick in free practice 2. I think, you know, we're struggling a little bit with the setup of the car, but hopefully if we're qualifying, we can fight for pole.
Well, we've got different sessions out there as well since you were last out on the track there, so is that going to make any difference for you guys? Yeah, for sure. The grip levels change on the street circuit. They evolve through the whole weekend. And normally you're always quickest on the end of the session. So, you know, a little bit probably perhaps like Monaco, but with the Yokohama tire, I think we see more of a peak on these tracks. So you might see our fastest lap times around that 3 or 4. Yeah, I think we always see the times getting faster through this session. And a little bit farther down pit lane is Justin Bell.
Well, Jerome Bleekemolen, you've obviously come off the back of 2 top 3 positions in the last couple of races. Pole position here is critical, but a couple of years ago you secured top spot by a rather interesting detour. You remember that well?
Yeah, it was a crazy moment. Yeah, luckily we got the pole in the end, but it was tough to lose the wheel and still bring it home and get the pole. But it's even harder today, I think. The competition has gone up. It's very bumpy here. The walls are closed, so you won't get away with mistakes. So it'll be a great fight again. I think it's great for the spectators who are watching us, and we'll give it all.
I think it's better to get pole by the old-fashioned method.
And that was spectacular. I remember vividly him running back through the chicane to pick up that errant wheel, and another spectacular performance that weekend by Jerome Bleekemolen. Let's check back in with Jeremy.
Andy, you're just about to get in the car here, but you guys have been struggling a little bit so far today.
We have been struggling a little bit here. It's my first time here and Patrick's first time, and we'll see. Lars did a bunch of changes to the car for qualifying, and we'll see if we can take it to these guys. The Lizard guys and the 22's been fast, so it's going to be a tight grid for sure, and we'll see how far up the grid we can work it.
It's a cool track though, isn't it? I mean, it's rough in some parts and relatively smooth in others.
It's extremely rough in some parts, but that's cool. It makes it challenging. It's something totally different from us for what we normally race the rest of the season. Even Long Beach, this is quite a bit different from Long Beach, our other street circuit, so I'm looking forward to it. Again, never having raced here for it. I've seen the races, and they've been exciting, so I'm looking forward to battle.
And I think it will definitely be a battle. GT Challenge, they all run in Porsches. Let's talk GT, though, and the manufacturer's points there. Chevrolet on top right now, but BMW has some strong cars, Johnny.
Well, and a new car. Remember that this car is new this year. The guys at Ray Hall Letterman, they are really doing an outstanding job. Let's not forget, though, Dodge. They scored their first win back at Road America, so these guys got a little bit of momentum working for them.
We look there at the championship, but we talk about how strong BMW is. Well, this morning they had some problems. Both cars, the 55 and then the 56, a quick disconnect from the radiator to the engine came off. Both cars, the exact same issue. Let out all of the fluid, came to pit lane, and then when they got things sorted back out and got on track, well, then the drivers started doing it. The 55, not once, but twice, lost the rear bumper. Part of the reason could be, Johnny, they're driving these cars hard.
Yeah, you know what? Really indicative of the championship battles going on. But let's not forget, you know, Greg, this time of year, drivers are feeling pressure. They know they're going to have a drive for next season. They need to impress. Sometimes guys push too hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, they both lost a little bit of track time. That upped the ante in terms of the immediacy, I think, of things. Now, we talked about that great battle. How about with our class leader right now? It is Chevrolet, and with Tommy Milner is Jamie.
Well, Tommy Milner and Gavin, they are the defending GT points leaders, or the defending champions, defending manufacturers champions. Tommy, you're from, but this is a big race for you personally, but how much pressure does GM corporate put on you guys to bring home another manufacturer title?
Well, that's our main goal every year is to win the manufacturer championship for Chevy and for Corvette. So that's always our number one goal. You know, we have 2 fast cars this weekend, and that's all that matters, really. Obviously, we'd like to be Gavin and myself would like to be up front always, but this year both the 3 cars done a fantastic job and has given us really a nice cushion at the moment in the manufacturer's points, but everyone else is so close right now that it feels nice right now, but you know, one bad race and they're right back in the hunt again.
We talk about the closeness of the manufacturer's title. We know BMW, they're right behind you, but that's a new car. So what advantage does it give you guys having a car that you guys know with the C6?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw this morning that the Z-Force had an issue there that they on both cars. And in our case, you know, this is the last year for our C6, so all those little issues work out now. And it's one of those things where, you know, we know everything, you know, about this car and know how to maximize the potential out of the car. And hopefully, you know, small issues don't cause us problems. So, you know, fingers crossed, a nice, reliable car, fast car, and have a good race this weekend.
And we know small issues have affected BMW. Justin?
Yes, so we're down here with the qualifying just about to get going. Dirk, when the points are this tight at the top of a championship, how does qualifying affect your strategy going into the start of the race?
Well, to be fair, I mean, it doesn't really matter where you're in the championship. You really want to qualify up front. And now we're here for the 3rd time, actually, in Baltimore, and you see that turn 1 is so tight, and you want to be not in a mess at the back. You want to be, well, it's messy. Turn 1 is messy, but you want to be up front, and so it's really, really important. But also, it's like a strategy for us, like the qualifying driver does the start, and so that means I'm doing the rest of the race, and that means Joe is qualifying.
Yeah, so you can see, everyone, that getting the strategy right starts right now on Friday afternoon.
Here, and boy, 2 weeks ago at Road America, Mark, what a moment for you guys.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, only 1 year after, you know, starting this program, you know, SRT, the whole team, the whole motorsports group at SRT did a phenomenal job and got us there because, you know, as a driver you can only do so much, and I know they all want experience and all that, but you need the tools to do it, and you know, the car they delivered to us at Road America was awesome to drive.
And towards the end of the race there was some fingernail biting going on there, but of course you couldn't really bite your fingernails because you had your gloves on.
Yeah, it's true, but I was thinking about starting at the toes though. It was very nerve-wracking at the end, especially with the strategy that we were on. we had it covered, we think, with the 93 car if something would have gone wrong with the others. We think the 93 car was in good shape, but it played out in our advantage. And that's what we're here for, to win races.
And how about here at Baltimore this weekend? It's a rough racetrack.
Well, like I just told you before we were on air, it's like we were here last year, but it was so early on in the program, and then you come back here 1 year later and you kind of forgot how bumpy this track is. And in all honesty, the car's been behaving pretty well this morning in practice. We've been working on setup, of course, like everybody else. But in the beginning, the bumps on the track were upsetting us quite a bit, and we're trying to deal with that and see what we can get out of it in qualifying.
Of course, this is going to be a battle.
And it's going to start with GT Challenge. GT Challenge cars out on track, beginning to warm up for their first qualifying laps right here beside the Inner Harbor in downtown Baltimore. Let's use Google Earth and take a look at the track map real quickly to show you where we are. Just north of DC, right in downtown. You see the Inner Harbor over there, and Johnny, one tight street circuit.
Very tight, very bumpy, but you know what, it's interesting. We've spoken to a lot of guys. A lot of guys like it. It's a very athletic racetrack and a couple good overtaking areas that I think are going to really lend itself well to the race.
Kind of an old style racetrack, if you will, as far as street circuits go. GT Challenge, the first of the challenge classes, Greg, all the cars identical.
They are indeed. They're all Porsche 911 GT3 Cup machines running on the same Yokohama Advan ENVR2 tires. You'll notice them. They have the orange behind the white numbers. That's a quick way to take a look at them. Speeds, 150 or so miles an hour. The thing here is they make pretty good mechanical grip. There's not a lot of speed for aero here. These guys can really confound some of the other classes here with their low corner speed.
Well, I think the other thing that's going to be important is it's so tight, and you heard guys talk about difficulty in passing. GT Challenge is a Pro-Am class. You're going to have a pro in the car, and then another driver who's a very good race car driver, just doesn't make his living doing it. So call it an amateur, if you will. All the pro guys have gone out to qualify, Johnny. They're going to put those cars as far up the grid as they can in GT Challenge. And right now, we got a shootout of some of the best in GT.
Well, you know what? And it's really interesting because you look at this category. Now, we flashed back 2 years ago, and we saw Bleakmolen when he was carrying that wheel during qualifying. Oh, I love that chicane. Actually, as a spectator, if I was driving, I wouldn't like it. But you know what? We didn't even know who Bleakmolen was right then. This category, the GTC category, has attracted so many top drivers. Bleakmolen, Edwards, Andy Lally. We go down the list of guys, and one guy who's really stepped up this year, Spencer Capelli, Greg. I got to tell you, he showed me more this season than I've seen in the previous of his career.
Yeah, he's been spectacular. This is who we're watching right now, Spencer Pumpelly. That Lime Rock, when he got his pole, it was bounding over every kind of a bump and curve out there. That's what we talked about with the spectacular. And I think that's exactly what he was alluding to here with that chicane, with the bumps around this track. You can't help but be spectacular if you're going to go fast.
And you talk about two other drivers very quick. The white Porsche at the top of the screen, flashing out from the bottom, the 22. That's Jeroen Bleakmolen every inch of road. Right behind him, Sean Edwards, another very accomplished Porsche pilot.
And what's so cool about this, Brian, is here you have the pro guys. And what do the pro guys want? They want to be the fastest guy. Right now, these guys aren't just competing on the racetrack. They're competing for rides for next year. They're competing for a higher salary. All right, now, if you're Bleakmolen up there in the WeatherTech white car and you look behind you and you see the number 30 Momo car of Sean Edwards, you know you've got a hot guy behind you. You want to really push hard. Don't let him sniff off you. And just really nail these laps. I mean, this is where guys, just got to be perfect. Focus on Edwards. And you heard Greg Edwards talking about Monte Carlo. Monaco. You know what? I mean, this is a guy that's been around the world. He's an expert in this type of car.
Well, he's done a lot. Of course, has a couple of the Michelin Super Cup championships in his back pocket in the very similar. Oh! Absolutely sideways. That's the part of the chicane that as a spectator you love it, Johnny, as you said, as a driver, not so much. Pumpelly, early pole at 135 flat, Brian.
And that lap just moved Edwards up to third. The question is, how many times can you do it and still have a car underneath you?
And how much faster would he have been had he not done that? Again, you know what? When a guy goes sideways and all that kind of stuff, it's spectacular. What a beautiful shot. You can actually look down in the cockpit, see the way Jerome is working the steering wheel, watch his head turn in there. Now through the corner, nice and tight, getting a good exit. But again, this is Edwards. He comes in, now slams the corner on the right, then opposite lock.
Watch the front end here. Then bounding over the railroad tracks to the exit, on board with Sean Edwards.
That's the amazing part.
That couldn't have been the right place.
Yeah.
it couldn't have been, but it was. I mean, it just looked like it was so much more violent. It shows you how well the suspension is working, really absorbing a lot of that load.
Oh, and just taking it. You wonder if they name each one of those curbs Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Oh, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
And by the way, I was just going to mention Pumpelly, that's a new track record, but a guy named Kevin Estra, the Frenchman, in the number 68 Racers Group entry, has jumped to third. Another Porsche specialist in Europe out of France, and he is right in the thick of this with that speed. Look at Pumpelly nailing tires, Bleekumholen too.
Man, all over the curbs. And I talked to some of the guys earlier, and I said, how often can you use them? They said, we have to use them in qualifying as Jeroen Bleekumholen moves to second. He said, we have to use them in qualifying. It gives us just that little bit. And if the race, there's someone right behind us, we'll use them. But if we hit them every lap, we're worried about drivetrains. And that same concern goes through every class, not GT Challenge alone, but you got to really wonder about the loads that get put on the drivetrain, the transmission, the axles, the CVs, when you go over the bumps like that.
And the fact that these cars can withstand that is pretty shocking. Now, as we go back to Edwards here, you see he's fallen off a little bit. What he's doing is he's looking for space. It's amazing. We've got, you know, a long racetrack here, but you've got literally about 8 or 9 guys within about 1/4 of a mile here, all sniffing and seeing what each other's doing. Right now, guys cooling tires. That was Pumpelly there on the left.
We talk about how professional these guys are, and that's exactly what you just saw there as you saw him pull out of the way and let the other cars go by, not impeding their progress. There's the number 27, Andy Lally, sharing that car with Patrick Dempsey.
Andy, with this team, remember, showed up at the very first race at the championship with this brand new team, put this car in pole at Sebring. It just blew everybody out of the water in terms of where they were. But as he talked about, he's never run here before, and neither has Dempsey. So there's nobody on this team that has any data, that has any knowledge of this track. So their learning curve here, guys, I think is pretty steep, obviously.
And there are nuances to any racetrack, Johnny, but especially a street circuit. You need to know it and know it well. You've got to have faith when you're going around that corner. You can't see the exit yet, but you know that it's time to go. And right now, Andy Lally over the railroad tracks. And Jeroen Bleekumholen jumps to the top. Andy Lally trying to move forward. He moves up to 5th. And things are really going to start cycling through right now.
Well, because the tires are coming up to the pressures that they were looking for, as we see the top 5 there, all that kind of stuff. But what is Andy Lally doing as a race car driver right now? Okay, what are drivers good at? Short-term memory. He can remember 1 minute and 35 seconds ago what he did. What is his breaking point? Oh, they're not much good for anything other than short-term memory. But you know what? So he can remember that, and he's doing the math to figure out, okay, last time I came into this corner and I had about a foot to the wall. Next time I go a little bit deeper. It's simple math.
Well, you're a championship driver. Why is it you can remember everybody who ever did you wrong on the racetrack if you only have short-term?
Well, never mind. Let's watch some racing, Brian, because I'm special. Don't you realize I went to some of the finest educational facilities in the United States?
Yeah, a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, it's just because mud sticks.
Yeah, well,
that's what it's all about. That was a great lap by Bleekumholen. You saw it. Now he has backed off. One, you know, just to preserve those tires, but also I think he may have just said the gauntlets now. You guys have to come up with now 4 tenths of a second to top this. See if you can burn those yokes off as you're doing it.
All the cars identical, running on the same Yokohama tires. There's Kevin Estre in the 68 from the Racers Group. Kevin Buckler, who heads that program, always putting out very good machines. Sharing that car this weekend with Al Carter, who is the defending race winner in class in GTC.
Doesn't run a lot of the ALMS GT Challenge races, but has that win. Certainly wanted to come back here. See that big B+, the B positive. That's a charitable foundation for pediatric cancer. It's very close to, and Pumpelly has taken it back. He's found that 4 tenths and a little more, Brian.
Oh, and here we go. You talked about it, Johnny. The tires are up to temperature, but they also need to build up to pressure. As they get hotter, the pressure builds, and then it gets to be where the car handles. And they got to start with the pressures a little bit low and let them build, and I think the cars are getting into their sweet spot.
Well, and Brian, so many times this season we have seen in this category it go down to the final couple of minutes. You know, as we look at it right now, we got Damian Faulkner. We haven't really spoken about him. He's sitting third. There's 5 minutes left. Anything can happen. But what the drivers are doing right now, they're getting an idea how much lap time they need to stick it on the front row to get the pole, all right? They're doing all that kind of stuff, and they're trying to find that spot on the racetrack where they're not going to get their lap in.
We've just hit that crucial 10-minute mark, so this is now an official session as we are watching Kevin Estrick as he's working his way around. I'm not sure he's on a flyer, but I think he might be starting one here. He's now the 68. That is Faulkner, actually, that we're watching, who has jumped up into third. And Damien, interesting, you were talking about, Brian and Johnny, the level of professional driver this class is attractive. Last year, Damien Faulkner, in terms of poles and fast laps, was the guy. And this year, he hasn't had a pole yet. It's just, the development in this class in terms of the drivers, and certainly the teams getting to grips with these cars even more.
Well, and it's been a disappointing season for him, I know, and that team has found some problems with the car in the early goings, and they've made it better, and they've improved. Somebody else that wants to improve, the 22, Jerome Bleakmullen, he just fell back to third, as Sean Edwards is now being shown in second place. So it's Pumpelly, Edwards, Bleakmullen, but we still have just over 3.5 minutes to go. So
now you watch Bleakmullen right here. This is going to be critical. He's going to want to get a good run out of it here. Now he's going to want to nail the chicane, get a good run out of there, so he carries his momentum right behind him. Okay, I think that might be Pumpelly.
Dion von Moltke in the team car to Pumpelly in the 44 right behind. The gold car that flashes by, Jan Halen, he's being shown in sixth. There's the 30. Edwards looking like he's cooling tires right now, maybe waiting to throw in one more flyer at the end. And Bleakmullen still digging, seeing what he's got. Can he get back to the top?
Now, what is he thinking, Brian? He's thinking, bring it in super, super deep, but not so deep that you miss your apex. What's the apex? That tight part of the corner where you're the closest to the inside. Then it's pull the trigger, accelerate out, get your hands unwound, explode off those corners. Now, watch his technique. He's trying to keep his hands. Oh, we got a little
Andy
bit
Lally
of
has hit something.
He's had a little bit of contact. Bringing that in.
The problem with the Porsche is the radiators are up front, and when you make contact with a wall head on in one of those things, you may have damaged the radiator. So Andy Lally looks like his day is done. Qualifying almost over, but still with just under 3 minutes to go, still time to get another lap, maybe two in.
He's digging, he's digging. Watch his hands and watch his head. You know what, if you come up to a right-hand corner, you should see his head in the cockpit. Gets his head turned in, looks at it, nice and tight to the wall, accelerate. I love that.
And that part right there, where that all comes back at you, you've got to have that to have the confidence to run it to there and know that those tires are going to stick. Little wiggle there. I don't think it cost him too much. Here we go.
And this is the best part. You got a great lap going, but you got to get through the chicane.
Boom, boom,
nice
boom.
and clean.
Oh, beautiful
nice.
on the way out. Almost straddled that curb. Didn't bottom out on it to the line. What's he got?
Pole!
There it is.
1:34.322. That's 2/10 quicker than Pumpelly, Brian. What a lap.
With authority, and he goes off in the runoff down in turn one. Probably just now catching his breath after that lap.
Taking a breath.
Yes. And he's saying, to the rest of the guys out there. But we got other guys like Pumpelly and right here, Edwards.
0.2 of a second is big. Edwards still cooling tires. Does he have one more
shot.
to go?
He should be able to get around there in time if he picks up his pace.
He's got to make sure he doesn't get traffic in front. The gold number 11, Jan Halen, up in front of him. He'll need to clear him. Spencer Pumpelly out of the car already. So he'll be satisfied with second in GT Challenge. Will Sean Edwards.
Edwards, he's going to stay out. He will have time for one more. If he goes for it, and we have seen this cat go for it before. How cool will this be? What he's got to do, he's got to get in front of the 11 car.
Yeah, he's got to get in front of Jan Halen, who looks like he's lining up for just one more. Inside 1 minute to go. Bleakmullen steals the pole from Pumpelly. Edwards still on track. What does he have? Jan Halen still out there, and look at this. Here's the 66, Damien Faulkner. What does he have as he comes to the line? Not enough.
But time to do one more.
Yep, he gets one more
shot. Eyes in. Now he shows really good head movement. But you know what? That didn't look like an accident. Turn one is cool. That's the WeatherTech car, did it?
Question is, Kevin Estre, he's quick. Can he move forward? Sean Edwards, Pumpelly already out of his car. There's Kevin Estre in the 68. The
It's a very, very interesting corner right there. You come from it. It's so odd. He's out of it too. And they all have predictives, I'm sure, that are telling him, is this lap, does it have the potential? And if not, they're going to bail on it, obviously, because they don't want to damage these tires. This guy, obviously, is going to continue.
And a great job by Kevin Estre to move out of the way and let his teammate, Damian Faulkner, through every inch of the road at the exit there. Now through the right-hander and pit out.
Nice, good there. A lot of momentum.
Now, one of the most difficult sections of the racetrack. The fast S is on the way down. Oh, and every inch out. And this is where the fast S's come. Heavy braking at the end. The car all bound up in cornering loads, Johnny. Then you've got to go to the brakes.
Very difficult to get through that complex. Cars do things well in a straight line, not when they're curving. Turning through.
Sagat,
nice and clean.
It's a nice run off. Very similar to Bleakmolen, but I'm not sure he's got the speed. The flag is out. Damian Faulkner, no, he doesn't have it. Bleakmolen, Pompelli, Edwards
using
on a
all
flyer.
the road. Did you see that, Brian? Oh, he brought it in there deep. Last complex.
This is it. One more corner, then the chicane, then the line.
Watch this. This is going to be sweet.
Edwards through the chicane. 1, 2, 3 curves. Makes the run. Pompelli looking on. No, Sean Edwards does not improve. Jeroen Bleakmolen will take the pole. It'll be the 4th of the year for the 22. Jeroen Bleakmolen and teammate Cooper McNeil. And there's Jeroen out of the car. Getting congratulations on his teammate's spectacular job in the exit of the chicane. I think that's what did it.
You know what? And being able to carry that momentum, got through there cleanly, but every single corner, Brian, it was apex out, where he was good, clean, and aggressive.
And out of that chicane, it looked like he was one of the more settled cars making that exit. And that, I think, as you said, played a huge role. So Jeroen Bleakmolen, as you said, Brian, 4th pole. Spencer Pompelli kept it close and exciting. Actually, Pompelli, Edwards, Faulkner, just an incredible run. So, and Kevin Estre rounds out the top 5. Let's get down to Justin Bell, who's with our pole sitter.
Jerome, that was fantastic. When you took the top spots with a couple of minutes to go, one of your team turned around and went, "We didn't come here to be second." So you really motivated the team, and of course everyone watching, as you did hold on to that at the end. I know it's never one corner, but for us, you went through the chicane so well. Is that where you felt you just got the edge?
Yeah, definitely. The lap was great up until there, but the chicane just went crazy well. I couldn't believe it. I didn't have so much problems with the bumps, and I could floor it already pretty early on. It's great for the guys because we've had some issues this morning. They've worked flat out till now, and to take it on pole, it's amazing.
Well, as you can imagine, everyone, the WeatherTech team extremely happy, but look at the sweat running down his face. That was from 15 minutes in qualifying. Tomorrow's going to be a big race.
It's going to be huge, and it is humid here as obviously we're close to the ocean, and it is going to be tough. GT Challenge will be one thing. GT, the championship there, it is tight as well. Ollie Gavin, Tommy Milner, just 5 points ahead of Dirk Mueller, and then Dominic Farnbacher, Mark Goossens tied with Dirk Mueller.
And then 1 whole point back, the other Corvette. I mean, it's just unbelievable how close this championship is right now. It's spectacular. And what we saw in this GT Challenge qualifying, obviously, these cars a little bit stiffer. It's going to be even more exciting, a lot feeling the bumps and the curbs a lot more intently. You can see just how close this championship is. And as you said, Brian, Oliver Gavin, one of the pairs that is leading the points right now, and Jamie Howe is with Ollie.
Well, Oliver Gavin is the defending GT points leader. So, Ollie, you've been in this position before. At this point in the season, are you on offense or are you on defense? How aggressive do you get?
I think you've still got to be on offense. You've still got to be attacking. You've still got to be going for the victories. You've still got to be trying to score as many points as you can. You know, we're going to go for pole position today, and we're going to try and lead from the front tomorrow. So, yeah, it's full on. We know the competition is going to be very, very tough, but our Corvette C6R has been fantastic throughout today. Tommy's in to qualify today, so yeah, looking forward to an exciting session.
When we talk about street races, we talk about how tight it is, the traffic. How is the Corvette in those conditions?
Well, it's been fantastic all the way through today. You know, we've found that the car has been very good in traffic, been very good dealing with every condition so far. You know, with the tracks slowly gripping up and it's slowly getting more and more rubber down, you know, our car does seem to be performing extremely well. So, yeah, very confident, but you just have to wait and see what our competition's going to do. You just never really know.
That competition's tight, but only one team has won here in Baltimore in GT, Justin.
Falcon Tire team, down here with Brian Sellers. Brian, you've never qualified particularly well for this race, but you sure have raced well.
Yeah, we've had great races, but we historically haven't been great in practice and qualifying, and you know, we haven't been that great in practice leading up to right now either. We certainly have some work we need to do, and we haven't been as strong or felt as strong as we have in the past, but it's still a little bit early in the going. We still have some time to figure some things out, so we're going to keep pushing and see where we end up. Having said that, Wolf is a great qualifier, and you know, he manages to pull one out every now and then, so I still think we'll be okay.
You've always been good on street circuits. You know, the 2 wins here. You had a super run at Long Beach as well. But the track is slightly different to last year. Does that make any difference to you guys?
The track is slightly different, but I don't think it's different enough that it changes much. The chicane is slightly different, slightly slower. But as far as the bumps and the overall layout, the track is the same. So it doesn't affect our setup too much, what we do with our tires. It just affects what we do as a driver a little bit.
Well, Wolf Hensler pulling out of pit lane. Falcon tires on that number 17 Porsche. That's because you've got your choice of tires. They're open in GT, mass-produced sports cars, the Corvettes, the Ferraris, the Porsches, you name it. You want to drive it, a Viper, it can run in GT, capable of well over 180 miles an hour. Most of them 5.5-liter displacement, with the exception of that Viper. A lot of displacement there, but these are the cars that you want to drive at home, and they are muscle cars. They're about to tear up this racetrack.
Well, as we're watching those Corvettes just starting to work their way around, they have been very strong. This track, though, is a great track for the Porsches for the simple reason they've got all of that weight right over the drive wheels. There's a lot of right-hand corners. You get it rotated, you get to the throttle, it launches. But you talk about the torque. Viper, of course, Johnny, these V8s, you drove these cars on the street circuit can be great street fighters.
Well, you know what, and they just get better and better, and that's the same for everyone. I mean, one of the neat things about motorsports is that the technology is always improving, you know, in every aspect, from tires to traction control to braking. Every aspect of these cars, you know, becomes more athletic every single year. And as I watch these Corvettes go around, I mean, how can you not be awestruck with how well behaved they are? Right now, the drivers, that was a little bit of nasty. You know, but you know, and again, that is an issue right there. When you send a car out for qualifying, you send them out with lower tire pressure with a target lap, which generally on the Michelin blades has been about lap 5, I would say, on the street circuit. You'll see these guys going for it big time.
See the number 56 BMW, the Z4, come flying into turn 1. They have had problems throughout the day. You can see Joey Hand back behind the wheel of a BMW. He's done 3 races so far this year and has been concentrating most of his time on the DTM Championship in Europe, so good to see him back. But for Dirk Mueller, that means he's had one driver in the car for 3 races and another driver in the car for 3 races, and still running very well in the championship. Hand right now with the fastest lap, but that's going to change, I can guarantee you.
And let's remember, who is Joey Hand's stand-in man? It's been a guy named John Edwards who has been smoking, who's got 2 poles. So it's not like you go away and you come back to your car and there's been a slow guy in it. You're coming back to try to prove that you're the guy that you know, deserves the line.
Well, the other thing is, keep in mind, both the BMWs, they had their problems in those sessions, but at the end of the sessions, they were right up near the top of the charts. But in both sessions, right at the end, there's a guy named Pat Long in that Porsche that popped up the top times. This is going to be very interesting to see how this is.
Very fast, and as we watch Tommy Milner haul around this racetrack in the number 4 Corvette, you can just see visibly the grip this Corvette has, how fast it is exiting these corners. Maybe not step pretty through the chicane.
He needs to go talk to Bligmolen. I think Jerome had the best line that we've seen probably over the last couple of years. All right, so now the lap time's starting to get there. Joey Hand had the pole, but the times are now really beginning to fall because they were still behind GTC, but he got it back now as the times are starting to come in. So it's Joey Hand, then Tommy Milner, then Jan Magnussen. So Corvettes second and third. Corvettes have run very well here, very quick here over the last couple of years. They just didn't get their win.
And while historically they've wrecked, you know, I mean, at the start of the race, you know, you heard Bligmolen talk, or one of the guys earlier discuss about how difficult turn 1 is right there.
Take a look at this tweet, Johnny, because you can't close down streets to test. How do you prepare for a street race?
Well, you know, and again, you got to remember, all these teams have engineers. These are guys that on Friday nights in high school were playing Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, we're talking wicked smart guys. And so they're looking for pages and pages and pages of data, and so they know, again, how much every aspect. Again, you look through your past history, and is the street like Long Beach? No, but there are attributes to it and aspects of it that look at it in data and then compare it to here.
That's what you mean when a car rolls off the truck fast. The engineers have looked at it and got a setup on it. The thing is that great start.
On a problem for the 23, the Alex Job West Racing Ferrari. Off down in turn 1. Townsend Bell behind the wheel is actually pretty quick in practice this morning, but he's had a problem. They've gotten turned around. Maybe he just went off and couldn't get it straightened back out, couldn't get reversed. That was down in turn 1 where they got the good run-off there. So now Townsend Bell back underway.
And they are hauling, but right now Joey Hand continues to haul. Okay, he's trying to keep his job. Yeah, Magnuson, really quick. He's second quick, followed by Beretta, Oberlin, and Milner.
A half a second behind Joey Hand, so very impressive. A lot of people thought the BMW would be quick here. Nice short wheelbase, handles well, good downforce, and no long straightaways. One of their complaints, Greg, all year long is they didn't have speed down long straightaways, and you really don't have one here. The chicane helps take care of that.
The chicane takes care of it, and the bumps take care of that. It's much more important to have a car around here that's working in terms of handling than it is in terms of straight line speed, because getting through and exiting those corners fast as we've seen is huge.
Well, I think the other thing that's huge, Johnny, is tire compound choice. You've got to make the right compound choice. We saw teams locking up brakes earlier, and really a lot of it with all the changing pavement is one of those deals where you've got to make sure that you've got a tire that works on the asphalt, the concrete, under braking, over the bumps, and all of that. Wolf Hensler jumps up to 4th, so the Falcon tire is obviously working pretty good on the 17.
Dude, I didn't hear a thing you said because I was just enjoying it so much. Jan Magnuson driving around. Oh, Tommy Milner!
They are just unbelievable through that chicane, pitching it, climbing those curves. By the way, Bill Armelin now has jumped up into 3rd. Just got displaced, though, by Jan Magnuson, who puts the number 3 Corvette back into 2nd. And Johnny by a 10th. He's closed it down. He's Joey Hand.
These guys are digging, you know, and again.
Oh, look at this. Goosens to the top.
Holy cow, he throws one down. They have done an amazing job getting all these cars equal. Those guys at Viper, you know, they stepped up, you know, and you go through the batting, it's kind of funny because they'll be like, yeah, the Viper's got like a bigger restrictor, and they're 8 liters, and all that kind of stuff. You know what? They're getting this car handling. You can't, doesn't matter how much power you got to get the car to handle, and you got to give a lot of credit to those guys.
Well, we were talking about tire compounds. What we should say and define that for you at home a little bit better is there can be a harder compound, a medium compound, the soft one. The soft one may give you great grip, but will wear out very quickly. The harder one may not give you the grip that you want, Johnny, but lasts a little bit longer. And how difficult, though, is it to pick the compound on a racetrack that has so many variables like a street circuit?
Well, that's why the engineers are hired and paid and all that kind of stuff. But again, remember that Michelin also provides each of the teams as Billy Oberlin throws one down. There's a new sheriff in town. Oberlin at the front, followed by Hensler.
Hensler was the one who got there first, and then Oberlin came through right behind him.
It didn't stay there very long.
No, so Hensler, and you hear Brian Sellers say that both can throw one in, and Hensler has thrown a couple of great ones in.
Joey Hand, who had been so quick in the white BMW, still very fast, but everybody else has found the way around as well. And now Hand looks to try to move back up. He's been displaced all the way back to 5th. Now he jumps back to 2nd.
By Billy Oberlin in the 55 car. Again, why are we going faster? More rubber's being laid down. Tire pressures are becoming optimum. Tire temperatures becoming optimum. And these guys, they have got their confidence up there. They know what their car's doing, and they're willing to take chances.
Billy Oberlin won at Long Beach on the other street circuit. I think he got a taste of that now. He's been around a long time. He's won on a lot of street circuits, but never Long Beach. And we saw him in that highlight package at the top of the show in that black BMW. He was throwing it around, taking the front, taking the rear, whatever he had to do, and is throwing down some great laps. That top 5 now covered by a second, almost by a half a second.
What can Joey Hand do? What does he have for his teammate Bill Oberlin? Then you got to wonder about Hensler, Magnuson, Goosens. They've all had a taste of the top. Oberlin sits on top of the mountain right now, but you know Joey Hand, in his first race back, after missing the last couple, wants to make a statement, just like you said, John.
Let's play junior psychologist with Joey Hand. Billy Oberlin is in the lead. You're Joey Hand. You're the guy that's going over to DTM. Everybody's expecting you're the crown jewel of BMW. The Billy BMW Oberlin is right now in front of you. So Oberlin, oh my goodness, 29.7 now. Check this out. So you're Joey Hand. You're getting that information on the radio. You know it's go time. Otherwise, Billy Oberlin is going to be strutting around this weekend.
Session is now official, by the way, so that will count. That is a new track record for Oberlin. You're talking about that junior psychology thing. While Joey Hand's been gone, a guy by the name of Edwards has put that car on pole. So there's a lot of pressure. Oh, we had a little bit of lockup.
Oh, and that's what we've seen all day long out of the BMW, struggling to get the balance in the braking zone. There's Wolf Hensler in the number 17. Team Falcon Tire, a good run right now to qualify third. He's got Bill Oberlin right in front of him. Oberlin looks like, is he cooling tires down a little bit? And that's going to be a problem for Hensler.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of anger being shown here. If I'm Wolf Hensler, I'm not too happy about this. Billy's setting up for his lap because he's the first guy. He doesn't mind wrecking another guy's lap too bad. He'll just be like, oh, dude, I had no idea.
Yeah,
so
you can see there, Wolf just said enough.
Throughout that lap, he knows he's got time for one more. He's going to use that anger and try to throw him down.
He's going to try to get a run right here off the chicane. Oh.
It's not my car.
That's one thing in qualifying, 2 hours of that. How do they endure it?
That's what you're saying. I don't think they can either. So Hensler now, he's got to focus on this lap. What does he have? He's been very quick. Patrick Long, and his Porsche jumps up to second.
They've done that both of those practice sessions I talked about. Patrick just sort of lurking in there and then puts in a late flyer.
Tommy Milner throws down a 30 flat Corvette. They are still
Joey
in the
Hand. And closes down to within 12 one-thousandths of a second to Bill Oberlin, and it is not over with yet. Right at 3 minutes to go, Oberlin Hand in the two BMWs holding down the point for now, holding down the front row. Then Milner, Long, and Hensler. And Patrick Long said, when I was here last year with Flying Lizard in the GT category, we didn't have a good car, but I look back on it now, and I know why. He's come back with Core Autosport this year, and they found the handle on that 06.
Now, you're Wolf Hensler. You're doing this lap. All right, your crew chief has told you you need 3 tenths. And you're like, 3 tenths? Man, that is so little time. Where do you find 3 tenths? But somehow or another, your top guys find a way to get it.
Here he comes. Jerome Bleakmullen said he found it at the chicane. What can Hensler do here? He needs to be over about another foot, and he'd have that straight line just like Bleakmullen was able to do. He improved his time, yeah.
But not his position, still sits in 5th. We're on board with Bill Oberlin.
He's now down to a 29.5. He's going faster and faster. Joey Hand, we hear, is hopping out. Great job.
Yeah, he said, that's all I've got. And so he's done. He said, all right, so that's good. We're up front. Well, you know what, Joey, there's still 145 to go, but we understand the red flag is out. The session is official.
Yeah.
Session is official, but any of the laps that they're on now will not count. So these guys that were trying to find one, maybe like a Hensler who wanted to put one more in the books, it's gone.
Oh, how disappointing. Oh. And you know every one of them's going to come back and go, that was the one, man.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I had it.
Clearing the predictive right now
yeah.
and saying, no, it would have been a pole lap. Well, the tires got moved. That opens that up a little bit.
And you see the debris on the racetrack, this side of it too, and you got to think about it. If somebody goes and pushes all the tires out of the way and then you've got the ability to shortcut it, maybe that's a good call as well. But I think really the debris at the exit was more of the issue. So the session red flagged, under a minute to go. Can't see that they would get it restarted, you never know, but you'd have to get back around. The pit lane is on the back side of the racetrack. You'd have to get a half a lap around. So I would say this session is over and Bill Oberlin can be happy with the pole. Let's take a look. Boom, that's the number 3 Corvette.
Oh, yeah, followed by the number 4 Corvette getting a Moto 2. And watch, all right, we're gonna go on board here, but if we get another opportunity, watch the rear wing deflection as they go through.
All right, try to straight line that.
You know what? If you're Dan Biggs or Brian Hoy, the crew chief at Corvette, and you are looking at the bottom under tray of these cars. I don't know, maybe a $15,000 piece. You're going to be here a little bit late with a little bit of spackle, because those bottoms of those race cars are destroyed.
Well, and I want to ask you, Johnny, one of the things we're seeing, and the bounding over these curbs and the like, we talked about it. One thing in qualifying for a couple of laps, whole different thing in a 2-hour race. You do that for a 2-hour race, you got to be getting out of these cars feeling like you've been kidney punched by a heavyweight boxer, just so violent. Huh?
Well, and remember when you're on, all these race cars, it's not like driving, a Cadillac down the down the street. These are race cars. They're thoroughbreds.
BMW 1-2, a great job. Bill Auberlen and Maxime Martin, they'll start for the pole for the first time this year. So a great job by BMW to get them up there. Good job by Bill Auberlen, and he's with Jamie Howell.
Bill Auberlen is one of the most experienced drivers in the paddock, but in 116 starts, if you can believe it, it's only his third ever American Le Mans Series pole. Bill, you got out of the car, said that wasn't bad. How good was it?
Really good. You got to give it all to the crew. I mean, Max and I have been beating up on this car all weekend, taking a little bit of risk, and they keep putting it back together for us. They get it right when you need it, and there's the pole. Michelin, thank you very much for giving us a great tire. I mean, obviously everybody loves the Michelin. BMW Z4, it is a beautiful machine. That's my, I'm just past 500 starts now, and 18 years with BMW, and it just keeps getting better.
We talk about traffic in a street circuit. How important is this pole position for tomorrow's race?
Well, I think if you're behind someone, they could be a second slower than you. You're not going by. So I think it's close to everything. We know the starts have been inherently crazy with LMPC cars trying to get their tires up to temp. We're much quicker to start. They'll get in the way. It makes for mayhem every year. If we get through clean, position is everything. We're great.
And the last time we raced on a street circuit at the Grand Prix of Long Beach, this car, they won.
Yeah, Bill Auberlen, a BMW, a street circuit. He knows how to get the job done. There's a beautiful look at the Inner Harbor. You think it's crazy today? What about tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ALMS.com and ESPN3, and then Sunday, noon Eastern Time on ABC. GT qualifying already in the books, but we still have plenty more to come from Baltimore. Up next, prototypes on track.
Rated E for everyone. We dream of speed, of pushing to the limit and beyond. We dream of racing the ghosts of history, of perfect passes and podium finishes. We dream to compete. We dream to win.
Xbox 360, starting at $99.
You did it? You solved Corman's enigma. How did you do it, Professor?
Professor? No, I'm not a professor. I'm just here to see my daughter. She's a dance major. But I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Stay smart. Stay at a Holiday Inn Express.
This isn't just a car. It's a legend. This isn't just a family. It's a statement. And this isn't just a brand. It's an attitude. This is SRT, Street and Racing Technology.
Back at Baltimore, the Inner Harbor, there's a look at the USS Constellation. Beautiful, the only Civil War era ship still floating. It's the Grand Prix of Baltimore. We talked about prototypes. Take a look at the Continental Tire Prototype Challenge points. They're close as well up front.
Yeah, Colin Brown leading the championship right now. Mike Gouache, interesting story there. Started the championship season off, wasn't planning on racing the whole year, found themselves in the point lead, decided we better continue to run this championship. Then Colin Bennett, who of course co-drives with Brown, just by the virtue of how points are distributed in the endurance races, didn't quite get there. Then Cumming and Nunez, just outside of that top five, is the RSR Racing team that this weekend is having a pretty interesting evolution, Jamie.
Well, this weekend, the RSR car will still be run by Paul Gentilozzi and RSR Racing. So what is this new partnership with StarWorks? How does this all work?
Well, it was a great circumstance. Alex had bought our car and all of the related parts, and we were actually going to retire. And we had a chance then, after we committed to sell it, to work with Duncan End and to buy his car. So we had a weekend where we didn't have a car. They were kind enough to allow us to work with them so that we get points. We entered under our name. It's really Alex's car and Starworks' car. So it's a great circumstance. Bruno's third in the championship, and we needed the points. So it looks like we'll be back.
All right, so RSR is still going to run this weekend, still going to run the rest of the season, but we have the newcomers. We have Starworks joining in. Peter Barron, you're the team owner. Why join in the series at this point in the year?
Yeah, we've been looking to get the second program going for a while, and finally it just materialized. And Alex has been working a lot with sponsors and a lot of trips to Venezuela to get it sorted. And it made sense to start now with 3 to go, and start working on it, learn the car, go through the little details of running it, so you can have a season next year. Then also, for selfishly too, it's better to see people that we're running a car out there. We're going to get a second car and run that, so let people know early than in the off season that we're involved with the prototype challenge class going forward in 2014.
Now, I mentioned you're the team owner for Starworks Motorsports, but all season long we've seen you also as SRT and the Vipers. They got the win at Road America, and you just left them high and dry. Why move?
Bill and I get along well, and we both have a lot of the same theories on strategy, and they had some new people to road racing strategy on the 93 car, so I was backing them up and helping them out. And then there were a couple times where their person was out, his wife had a baby, Matt, there, and so I helped them out. But it was really happy to see them get the win, but yeah, they're just fine. They're good, and it's I needed excuses to get out of the house on the weekends. Too much housework to be done, so it's better off being here.
Well, I think you just secured yourself a spot at the racetrack. Justin?
Well, Colin Braun, Quarterspot, just about to put his helmet on, and I'm holding him up. Colin, this track hasn't been kind to you in the past, but after such a strong year, this is where you can turn around in qualifying.
Yeah, for sure. These Quartersport guys have been working hard. We're leading the championship, driver championship, so I'd like to stretch that gap out a little bit. We've been really fast, had a lot of poles this year, so hopefully we can add another one to that column and stretch the championship lead out.
Well, the good way to start would be getting in that car and getting your helmet on. And the thing is with Colin, guys, what a mature young man. He's just about to get in and qualify here on the street circuits, and he's cool as a cucumber. Jeremy?
Michael Gouache, who's just 5 points behind in this championship challenge, Mike, is close.
It's very close, and we're really excited. We love street courses, and I brought Dane in as my teammate for 3 of the next 4 races. Dane Cameron, who's been a great friend of mine, and actually was my coach once upon a time, and we won Sebring together, so looking forward to the next few races. I think we've got a really good shot at it. Yeah,
he's going to be qualifying the car now. He's fastest in the first session this morning, never been here before, and it's been 18 months since he's driven this car in anger, but he's doing a good job.
No, yeah, he's spot on. So he's every lap he's getting quicker and quicker. We probably would have been first in second practice also, but came in, made a change, and we got traffic. So I'm not worried about it. We're going to do really well.
What's he been teaching you lately?
Oh, I just, what he helps me with really is communication with the engineers. I know what I'm feeling, and it's just communicating it better with the engineer. And I think by the end of the year, I'll be ready to go. I just need a few more races with a guy like him to help me just with my communication.
Yeah, Dane Cameron has spent a lot of time with this team in the past, and he and Michael Gouache just get along really, really well.
Dane Cameron, another one of those young up-and-coming drivers who's doing a spectacular job with Team Salen's over in the Rolex Sports Car Series and the Daytona Prototype, and he'll be a big help to Michael in his search for the championship. Talk about championships in the Prototype 1 category. Muscle Milk Pickett Racing, they need to finish 70% of this race in order to score points. If they score points this weekend, they will walk away with another team championship and driver championships in the Prototype 1 category. For more on Muscle Milk, here's Jamie.
Well, Lucas Lohr, Muscle Milk Pickett Racing, this is one race that they have not been able to conquer. Dyson Racing has won the last 2 years. I hear the ahs coming from the pit guys around here. Lucas, what do you guys have to do to get a win here this year?
Well, first of all, I think we have to run a trouble-free race. Walls are very, very close to you, as I figured out this morning, and they are stronger than the car, definitely. So you want to keep off of them. No, I think we have a good race car, and Klaus is going to qualify, and hopefully we stay up front for the race, and then we see.
When the competition is the way that it is, we now have Dyson Racing back with Chris Dyson and Guy Smith. So when the competition keeps changing, how do you as a team react?
Well, it's not really in our hands, is it? So we have to focus on our deal, what we're capable of, on our strengths. That's what we're trying to do. And if the competition changes or comes on more, it's even better.
All right, well, Justin is down with Chris Dyson.
Well, that's true. When you look, you talk about success on a street circuit, some teams and some drivers just really get it right. And of course, Chris, you had great success here in the last couple of years. How do you translate that into this weekend in this car?
Well, thankfully the layout's the same as it's been. We've had a good car here the past couple of years, and exceptionally good in 2011. The car seems very good in practice, and you know, you just try to pick up on the momentum that you had last year, and we've got a bigger cookbook on the circuit.
When it comes to driving a prototype around here, the GT cars we see are very compliant. They move. If they brush the wall, it's probably not the end of the world. For you guys, it really is just like driving an Indy car. How do you keep it so precise and you go so fast? Is it just confidence, or is it confidence in the car and you?
I think it's both, to be honest. I mean, you're always going to go faster on your last lap, usually on this circuit like this, really because of tire temp. You know, and I think that, like you said, the GT cars in the very slower sections, our mechanical grip is very good. You know, we're not able to really sort of flaunt our aero advantages here, but you know, at the end of the day, we've got more horsepower, we've got less drag, so we can still get by them. You've just got to be really precise with your driving here. You know, you have to use the minimum amount of road. You've got to stay tight. You just don't want to get wide anywhere. And you know, when you mix it up there with 35 plus cars of differing speeds, it's pretty exciting.
And it would be nice to have a clear track just for the first couple of laps. Chris, thanks very much. Good luck.
Dyson trying to make their mark. The muscle guys look
thanks.
Relaxed.
Well,
Would that be a term?
You heard the laughter when Jamie opened her mic up. That is a team that just really enjoys this.
Led by
it's wonderful. Greg. Yeah.
Greg Pickett sitting right there. You see the muscle milk on the back of his shirt. There is the first prototype challenge car out. Dane Cameron behind the wheel of the 52. Another one of the challenge classes. That means all the cars are identical.
Exactly. They are all the Oreca chassis, originally built in France. They all run the LS3, essentially the Corvette V8 engine. Good power, lots of torque in these sealed engines. Good speed, and again, here, they're all on that same Continental tire as they are all season long. But Johnny, one thing we see for these cars with that torque, they get out of the corners very well. They are absolutely great on the streets.
Well, and again, another destination where drivers can come to be seen, to be shown, to be proven. You know, Bruno Junqueira was one of the first guys transferred here from IndyCar, started making a mark for himself. But then you had guys like Kyle Marcelli, and one guy that I think everybody really looks at as perhaps one of the top American guys coming up, and that's Dane Cameron. This guy's been stunning. The very first time he was in one of these cars, he won at Sebring, and I think we can expect big things from that car today.
And in terms of outright pace, the guy this year in this class has been Colin Brown, driving for Core Autosport, 4 poles in the 6 races.
Well, I think you look at it, it's Bruno Junqueira in the first car that you see, the white number 9. There's the experience that you talk about, experienced IndyCar driver. He's the guy that everybody wants to measure themselves against. And then you look at guys like Kyle Marcelli and Dane Cameron and Colin Brown, and you run through the list, and you're like, impressive that those young guys can go up against guys like this, but they really are the future of the sport. Right now, Dane Cameron is the baseline time, and Junqueira was off that first apex and then loops it at the exit of the corner. These cars do not have traction control.
I was going to say, did we mention no TC?
Yeah. Without the traction
so
control,
you can just see everybody runs out of talent sooner or later. You know what? And then you find your limits. You get your things going again. But you know what? If you had to say, okay, who's the fast guy this year? It's Colin Braun. You know, we've known that along. He was very quick. He was great in sports cars. He went over to NASCAR, and now he's come back to sports cars. And he knows that this is where his career's got to be. He's got to define himself. And he's been very, very successful with that. You know, we heard earlier one of the guys in the GT category would talk about the starts and how difficult the starts are, Billy Auberland. This is a Pro-Am class. So right now we are seeing the pro guys, the fast guys, going as fast as they can, but then knowing that generally it's the slower drivers that begin the races. 05 goes to the pole, and right there.
And then Cameron just popped up as well. Cameron now at 129.8.
It's going to take 3 laps, 4 laps, maybe even 5, and in fact, in the Continental Tire Prototype Challenge category, as Colin Brown slides wide there, typically what we've seen, much like GT Challenge, the last few laps of the session are the fastest ones, so things are really going to change. They're not faster than the GT cars yet, so expect massive improvement with the lap times here.
Well, I think part of it is the Continental tire being a spec tire. There's not quite that that sweet spot. You hit at just a certain point, and you can continue to get speed out of these tires. We talked about it, Johnny. With every lap, there's more grip down. Chris Dyson talked about it. You get more heat in the tire. The pressure is right. It really allows for these guys to push all session long, as long as they don't hurt the tires. And that's what I wanted to ask about Junqueira. Is he going to be okay?
Yeah, you know what? That was such, a spin like that, it's not going to flat spot him or anything. It might frustrate him a little bit. It might probably embarrass him a little bit. Oh, as we have
a big hit.
Big off there, very early in the
that's
session.
the 7 with the orange roll hoops.
I think you're right. Yep. Oh boy, that was a big off.
Yeah, that is a big hit. Rusty Mitchell behind the wheel. And in the car, you see him kind of put his head back. That was, he smacked the wall, so that hurt. And Mitchell stays in the car. There is where the contact happened, and it has moved the wall and then left a trail of debris. That's coming onto the pit straight, and it's pushed that wall in just a little bit. Oh.
Didn't turn. Didn't turn.
Very, very sharp angle of contact.
Hard to tell from that angle whether or not, he could have had his foot on the brake and the gas at the same time. There's a lot of things that could have gone wrong there.
I can't see the left side of the car clearly. The other question is, did he touch the wall driver's left at the apex and spit the car back out to the right?
And ping pong out. But I can tell you, man, in sports car racing, there's nothing softer about these barriers.
No, I mean, that was a sharp angle into that concrete wall, and Rusty Mitchell a little shaken up as he sits on the side of that number 7, and you can see how the wall has been displaced.
And I think each one of those is about 8,000 pounds, so that gives you an idea of the energy there.
They're heavy.
Yeah,
that's a sharp I know that.
That is a sharp.
Very heavy.
I've heard all different weights for them, but they're all heavy.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because one of the most common things people ask is how fast have you gone and all that kind of stuff. Now the speed in that corner might only be like 55, 60 miles an hour, but when you lose control, 55, 60 miles an hour is awfully, awfully fast.
Now here's the deal: the clock counting down. They're guaranteed 10 minutes of. If they get 10 minutes of green flag qualifying, then the session is good. If they don't, they line up based upon points. And for Colin Brown, that would work in his favor this weekend. It's worked against him in the past, so we'll have to see. Yeah, there were some interesting nuances in there because they, when they went to the points, I think what you're alluding to, Mike Gouache ended up on pole, but Mike was the one who directed, caused the session. So they then, karma being a fulfilling thing, he then had to do a change on the car that put him to the back of the pack anyway. But then they changed the rule that if you cause the incident, you don't get to start at the top. So, but for Colin Brown, at this point there, you look at those points, he would start up front. And the thing that's interesting, I would assume they would take Colin Brown's points, not John Bennett's points. Brown and Bennett share the same car. They would base it off of Collins because you got two drivers in the car with different points. Yeah, highest point.
But then you got Gosh starting second with Dane Cameron. Now, I don't know, man. I think I'm going with a 52 car on that. Dane Cameron, he already has laid down the quickest time. And, kids, he was on the pole in the Daytona prototypes. At Road America, the guy's fast, he's precise, doesn't make mistakes.
The talent here, the young talent coming through, the Tristan Nunez's of the world. I mean, you look through there, and it is a list of who's who. Dane Cameron sitting there in the 52. But it's a list of who's who and the guys that you're going to recognize another 5, 10 years from now for sure. Kyle Marcelli.
You know what? And what's crazy is I look at Dane Cameron right there. He's actually the son of my crew chief when I won the Formula Atlantic Championship another lifetime ago.
How many decades
that
ago?
was man. They was still black and white TV, bro. I just said that to make you happy. I just said that. No, that was well after Apple Computer.
Any chance that I have to dig into you just a little bit now that. Crew going to work to straighten that wall. They need to get it back. A, for safety, you don't want a sharp area in the wall. But 2, if it's displaced like that, it's been dislodged, so it's not going to take as much energy to move it even further, and that makes it that much more dangerous. So they've got to get it back straight.
Just get Dan Binks up against it and push on it. He's a strong guy.
He is.
He is a strong guy. You're absolutely right. I think the technical term for one of the things that they want to avoid in that is what's called a leading edge, where the next barrier sticks out because that can catch the edge of a car and just rip it open like a can opener. So they're very, very cognizant of that, and making sure, as you said, Brian, there are connecting rods that kind of hold those things in place, making sure that those weren't damaged because you don't want that wall to pop open.
I don't know whether they have moved that at all. I think they are right now just cleaning up the carbon fiber.
I saw some officials over there looking at it. They may be saying it's okay, but the car is still out on the racetrack, and we're inside 5 minutes to go in the session. There's no way they're going to have 10 minutes of green flag running.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to go to points.
But if you're out there and you're qualifying, you still want that track time, you know, if you have, you know, figure out some nuance with your car.
So even if it's not going to end up being how you grid, you still want to go out. Basically now it's a practice session.
Yeah, anytime you can get some stick time.
There is the significant damage, and even drivers like you see Joey Hand on the backside of the wall there in his driver's suit has come out to look at both the damage to the car, to the number 7, and also to take a look at the racetrack at the wall. The guys looking at it, Dirk Mueller standing there, and they're going, that hurt.
You know what? Here's the thing, Brian. Virtually about every driver out there on the grid has, at one time or another, tanked a car like this. You know, and it is the worst feeling in the world. And you know that you know, not only because of the amount of work that you made for your team, but then the opportunity that you put yourself into. Now you lost an opportunity to do well. It makes it much more difficult when you have a record qualifying for you to get a good result.
No, and for Brian Alder and the team, the question is, as sharp as the angle was, as hard as the hit was, is it going to be one of those things that the tub is damaged and they may not be able to run? Now, it sounds like they are going to try to get 10 minutes of running in. Well, difficult to do, but
there's nothing else on the track after this session.
They can adjust it.
So they might be able to float it a little bit and allow these guys to get their time in. And we'd like to see that.
Absolutely.
We want to see them get out and get this settled on time. And you know, you talk about everybody tanking a car like that. Where, you know, as good as they are, even the top pros are human, and you make mistakes. You're paid to go out and go fast, and sometimes it just gets away from you.
Yeah, you know, and your team owners, your good team owners, understand that every now and then they go out and they come back on a hook or on a wrecker and all that kind of stuff. Even your top guys, you know, still fall off now and then.
Well, I mean, think about this. You know, the drivers are under significant pressure. If you come back in and you're halfway through the field, then your crew looks at you.
Yeah.
And they want to know why you didn't go faster. If you come back in and you damage the race car while you were trying to put some good laps in, they can at least understand that. So, you know, I mean, it's one of those things where you're danged if you do, danged if you don't. You got to go. Your job is to go out there and go as fast as you can. Sometimes it goes wrong.
In Indy Lights, I raced for Chip Ganassi, and there were times where we'd be sitting 5th, and Chip would say, hey, you know, either put it on the pole or put it in the wall. And I'd be, okay, Chip. So, you know what? And the great thing about Chip was, though, you'd come back, you'd apologize and be, dude, sorry I wrecked your car. He's like, never apologize if you're going for it.
And going for it, they're gonna. We're back to green, and we've got officially 4 minutes and 40 seconds now is the official time. And Johnny, as you often say, in the end, it's not your car.
Exactly. You know, and if you don't have to pay for fixing it, that's a perk.
Well, we talked, I mean, they're going to have some pressure, but they've lost a lot of the temperature that was in the tire. The pressure doesn't go down, but the temperature certainly does as they sit there. 3 laps, probably. And I've got to believe that it's going to be the last one that's going to be the quickest. Colin Brown on it already. The car with just a little slide off the corner. He'll head to the chicane.
You saw a little bit of understeer. Understeer is the skid where, well, right there, where you are turning the steering wheel and the car does not want to change direction. It wants to continue straight.
And Colin Brown now down into turn 1. Heavy braking. This is one of the challenging areas. You can see how rough it is. Every time the car unweights, goes over a bump and gets light, the braking loads change, so they've got to read that. Colin Brown, clear racetrack in front of him. You heard him, I want another pole, and that gives you a good idea of just how rough it is going down the straightaway into the hairpin, turn 3.
Well, a little bit of push as understeer, that helps get heat in those tires in a hurry, doesn't it? This turn, I think, is one of the fascinating ones here. It's so wide, and the precision to turn in there, that's just unbelievable. Now, one thing too is that the pits are not on the front straight, so there's 3, 4, 5 corners out there before you even launch on your fast lap. That's got to help.
And you know that it's going to be the first 2 laps that you're going to get here are throwaways. You're building up the heat. Now remember, we build heat up in our tires not just through the friction of turning through the corner, but under braking. Okay, these are disc brakes. As you apply the brakes, your rotors get a lot of heat that transfers to your wheel and your tire. That helps you get that tire pressure grip as well.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Currently, the fastest time is a 1 minute 29.880 set by Cameron just before that red flag came out, and not anywhere near where we would quite expect these guys to be. So this is going to be interesting to see what he's got here. Oh, nice. So bumpy into that it just gets that car going before you even start to load it.
Now remember, these cars cannot be as aggressive through that chicane and over those curves as the GT cars. You'll see them dancing and being a lot more precise with their lines as they go through there.
That was Colin's quickest lap of the day. Now Dane Cameron moves forward. Now we're going to start to see lap times. So they'll get some decent lap times in here. They're running right now about 1.5 minutes. So they'll get probably 2 laps before the checkered flag falls. Another 2 laps. Dane Cameron into the hairpin in the black and blue number 52.
Yeah, and this is awesome because you have Dane Cameron in the blue car in front and then Kyle Marcelli behind him. That being behind him allows him to see what the braking points are, to dig a little bit deeper, use him as that carrot. Right now, Colin Brown on it. Nice, clean, tight. Get to your apexes. Look at that head turn. Looking where he wants to go.
Slide through the corner. You said it earlier, Greg, no traction control, so you see the rear end of these cars slide under power off the corners.
This is really, I think, proven to be one of the funnest classes to watch here because of the lack of traction control, all that speed, fairly good downforce, and lots of mechanical grip and torque, and OTC. They got to drive with that right foot. Colin Brown looking exceptional right now. One more turn, get through clean, and then the chicane, that bumpy approach to it right there. Get it woed. On it, Johnny. That looked very clean.
So 1 minute to go. He's going to get another lap. How does he do compared to Dane Cameron?
No, not there. Dane Cameron, though. Marcelli.
Oh, no, he does.
Does he?
Pole.
All right.
Dane Cameron goes to the top. And now here we go. They're all going to flash through. They're all going to flash through.
Marcelli is really, in my mind, in the best position because he can, see what Cameron's doing, try to run him down, use him as the carrot. Cameron knows he's so close. Oh, my goodness.
What does Bruno Junqueira have? They'll all get 1 more lap. 30 seconds to go. Marcelli, a little bit of a slide off the apex as he tries to give chase to the car right in front, which is Dane Cameron in the 52. It's Bruno Junqueira at the back of the shot in the white prototype coming into view, and halfway around the lap, Colin Brown still trying to go quicker. Marcelli being shown on top, then Dane Cameron, Colin Brown, Bruno Junqueira.
You saw right there, Marcelli was a little bit behind his car, a little bit late with his input. That probably cost him about 2 or 3 tenths through that complex. Dane Cameron right now looks to be opening up. Don't you love how close they're running to the walls?
This is it. Checkers are out, Greg.
Checkers have flown, so here we go. Colin Brown through this very tricky high-speed change of direction. Right, left, Brian, as you said, you're all loaded up with corner angle. Then you have to brake. Nice bit of throttle right there.
This is going to be like watching a slot machine. The times are going to roll through.
He was unsettled going through the first part of that chicane.
Colin Brown to the flag. I would think that he'll move forward. He moves to the pole, but wait, don't order yet. There's more. Dane Cameron. And Marcelli to second. Dane Cameron on pole, but wait, Junqueira has to come through. Bruno Junqueira does not improve, so a late dash. 3 laps, 4 laps at the most to the checkers, and Dane Cameron takes the pole.
Earned his paycheck, his flight. He earned everything, man.
Does he get to eat?
He gets a lobster meal.
He gets a great crab dinner.
Yeah, he gets a crab dinner. Right? We're in Maryland.
I'll tell you, that was unbelievable. And for Bruno Junqueira, the reason he didn't get pole is because he probably didn't tap the wall the last lap and get the steering dinged up that he used to such great effect last year. But still in all, you take a look at it again, those times, incredibly close. Wow.
And second pole position start for the 52 for the year. But remember, the first one that they got, we talked about it a minute ago, was back in Mosport when they started on points. So it's the first earned pole for the 52 on the season.
and just a great run. Again, bringing Cameron in, and Johnny, you talked about it. You said that this guy was going to be the guy to watch as they come in. So that is your top 5 in the Continental Tire LMP Challenge qualifying run.
Good stuff. It's exactly what we thought it would be. We've seen it all year long in Prototype Challenge. The young guns, that's the future.
Yeah, you know what? And if you're one of the regular guys, this is embarrassing. You don't like that. You know what? If I'm Colin Braun and I had Dane Cameron come in, I'm not happy. The same with Marcelli, Bruno Giancarlo, same deal. You don't like a new guy coming in, making you look bad. Dane Cameron pulled it off again. And you know what? Classy guy. You're going to see him pull his helmet off, smile. He's a low-key guy. And nice job.
And he did it with authority, almost 0.3 of a second. And Dane Cameron is with Justin Bell.
Well, Dane, that was very exciting from outside the car for all of the fans watching. What was it like inside? Very close stuff.
Yeah, it was great. I was a little disappointed there. Hope he's okay, whoever that was who had that big accident. But I was disappointed that we might not get to have that little shootout. There's a lot of great guys in this series, and this track, everyone's super, super close. It's a great little street course. It's quite a fight here, and the race will be no different. But really thankful to Mike and Bobby and everyone at Pier 1 Matheson for bringing me on board to help Mike out for these couple of races, and it's a nice reward for the boys.
Oh, congratulations. Young, fast, good looking. God, it's annoying.
I feel your pain, Justin. All right, P2 points. Take a look at this in the Prototype 2 category. Scott Tucker out in front of his teammate, Marino Franchitti. Then Guy Cosmo, Scott Sharp in third. There's been a shakeup. A lot of times you look to the future and try to figure out what you want to do in the future. Well, there's been a shakeup in the driver pairings in the P2 category. And for more, Jeremy Shaw tells us more.
Yeah, I'm with Ed Brown at Extreme Speed Motorsports. And Ed, you've had this fabulous battle with Level 5 all the way through this season, and now a big shake-up in a driver lineup. How has that upset your plans?
Well, I don't know if it's upset us. It came to it was a shock to us. Fortunately, Lazaro turned 54, so he became a silver this week, so we could fill the position. We wish Guy wouldn't have went to Level 5 for obvious reasons, but it doesn't really do that much to us. We're ready to drive, and this was our year just to get used to these cars anyway.
It's really a question for Guy, but he's in the car. Why did he leave this team? Why did he leave this fabulous opportunity you'd given him?
Well, I think the teammates weren't getting along, and Guy just felt like maybe the grass was greener somewhere else. So, I've always been, whether it's employees for ESM or for Patron, if you think you got a better opportunity to go somewhere else, I would never hold anybody back.
And you've got a great guy to step in. Anthony Lazaro is quick this morning.
Yeah, he's awesome. We've had him do some of the enduro stuff with us, and he's just a great guy. He fits right in. The team loves him, and yeah, he's fast. And he knows more about these cars probably than we do because he's done so much prototype work. So, he's really helped with the setups too.
And let's hear from the other side of the equation with Jamie Howe.
Well, Guy Cosmo has landed with the new home at Level 5 Motorsports in the number 552 with Marino Franchitti this weekend. Guy, a bit of a shakeup this week. From your side of the story, what was your decision to leave ESM?
Well, I've really enjoyed a great 3.5 years over at Extreme Speed, representing Tequila Patron. I mean, it's never an easy decision to make a switch like that, but, at the end of the day, there were enough signs telling me that it was time to move on. I found an opportunity. Fortunately, Level 5 had a seat available for the remaining races, and as difficult a decision as it was, I felt like it was the right decision for me. Doing it in the middle of the season, 4 races to go, it was not easy to come to this point. I wish those guys the best of luck. I know they're going to do great. They've got a great driver in there helping out, filling in for me. Anthony's wonderful. I have to thank them for everything. I really thank Level 5. This is a new environment for me. It's a new adventure. I feel like this is a team and an environment that I can really excel in, and just looking forward to finishing out the season strong.
Well, Guy seems nice and relaxed. Justin Bell's with his new team manager.
It's wonderful when you hear the enthusiasm, David, on a driver's, in his expressions, his attitude when he joins a new team. And obviously Guy Cosmo is over the moon to be with you. But also you must be pretty excited to have a talent like him, young, fast, and of course experienced in these cars.
Yeah, I guess this was as much a surprise to me that it happened as it was to anybody else. It was the last thing I expected. We were looking really hard for a good silver-rated driver for the rest of the season, in particular Baltimore. Past Baltimore, we would have been okay. We had a number of drivers that didn't have conflicts, but we were really struggling for Baltimore. And then, via an email, I got kind of an indication that there might be some interest there on Guy's part to join up with Level 5. So I was on that, as you might expect, and we're real happy to have him on board. He seems like a really nice guy. We've seen how he can drive. He put on a heck of a performance at Elkhart Lake against the likes of Pagenaud and Franchitti, and so we're happy to have him here.
And of course, tomorrow is such a demanding race that it'll be a great initiation for the very experienced Guy Cosmo here at Level 5.
I think the thing that's important, and they said it, but I'll make it a little clearer. When you look at it, well, here are the prototypes, and here's the way they'll line up. The prototypes, P1 category cars, the fastest cars out there. They're the rocket ships, the highest tech. The Muscle Milk car will be one to watch. Remember, if they finish 70% of the race, they'll win the championship in the P1 category. In P2, really the biggest difference, production-based power plants. Technology-wise, they're very similar.
And we've been to some racetracks this year, Brian, where they are within a second of each other. One of the difficult things or interesting things when I look back, okay, at that little discussion about Guy Cosmo, you heard them talk about silver driver, okay? All pros are rated based on the success that they've had in the sport. Guys that have had a lot of success are rated as a platinum. Then there's gold, then there's silver. I think that's stupid. You're either a pro or you're not a pro, and I just think it's ridiculous that they have come up with this series, but that's me, and nobody listens.
Well, right now, Johannes van Overbeek in the 0-2 from extreme speed, trying to get up to speed, but my point was going to be that when Guy Cosmo left, he made the decision to leave ESM. He didn't make the decision to leave ESM and go to Level 5. Right. He left one and then cast his net and said, I'm going to be available for the rest of the season, but he's really looking to his future is what he's looking to. And when he cast his net, the first fish that got caught in it, or the first person who paid attention to it, was David Stone, who said, we need exactly that. So he was very fortunate to have a net to fall in, so to speak, when he stepped out of ESM.
Well, and you know what? Perhaps to a degree, Level 5 owed him, because remember back at Lime Rock, Briscoe hunted him and took a win away from him. So you know what? Sometimes there's karma. Level 5, they picked up a good guy, great, ambassador, for their brand. So great for Level 5. And, it seems like, Anthony Lazzaro, that cat can drive too. Yeah, so you know what? I think it's just a little bit of a change in the players.
And it's an interesting nuance you're talking about those driver ratings, that a guy of the talent of Anthony Lazzaro turns 50 and suddenly he loses a level of ranking. Helped out the team.
I didn't know that. So is everybody over 50 a silver?
Yes. Well, it depends on where your ratings start.
I'm Rust.
You're, yeah.
They're different degrees of it, so.
We're talking driver ability too, not hair.
Yes. All right, let's get
on board the 551. It's going to take a little while to get pressures and temps. Yeah. Once again, in these tires, that is Ryan Briscoe on the 551. Obviously, very experienced both in IndyCar and in prototype. He broke his right wrist at Toronto and healed very, very quickly. So impressive stuff that Ryan has healed as quickly as he has, and because this car this weekend is going to put a pounding on it.
I was going to say, we talked about that. The bumps, just the general pounding. Driving for a full stint is going to really put a test to that wrist. He's got some special bracing on it and the like, but it'll be interesting to see just how it goes. I'm sure he'll be fine. He's obviously been doing some other driving as well. It should work out just fine. But he's got himself a chore here, because this team, obviously, in a huge fight. And even though he said, Ed Brown said, this is just our year to get used to these cars, they've still found themselves very close to the championship, and it is a great scrap.
That looked pretty nice through there. The way he worked those curves. Now that messed up wrist of his is only going to be an issue if he wrecks again.
Yeah, that's a very good point. All right, so here we go. Time starting to come in. Cars getting faster. They'll get quicker even still. Little problem down in turn 1. Briscoe being shown quickest right now in the prototype 2 category, and did some checking. It's actually 55 years old. So
does that mean Lazzaro is actually gold, or was he just a silver?
And it still means I'm Rust. I don't really know where he lied about his age.
Or is he actually 55? Yeah, that's
one of the two. Now, two different classes of cars right there together. The black prototype in front is a P2 entry. It's the 552 Marino Franchitti on board. And the blue and white, the coupe, that is the P1 entry from Dyson Racing with Chris Dyson behind the wheel. Considerably faster in a straight line. I think Marino had slowed down a little bit to let him go in and with the sun in his eyes, it may have caught Chris a little bit off guard.
So you know what? Again, we are at the third lap for these guys. So what are they thinking? They're thinking apex out. They're thinking get off the brakes, carry your momentum through the corner, but now go, 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 go.
2-liter, 4-cylinder turbo Mazda in the white and blue number 16, producing phenomenal horsepower. And right now, it's trying to control that horsepower as you come out of the corner. It's the 0-2 of Johannes van Overbeek back to the top. And Klaus Graf, wow, a problem down at turn 1. So Van Overbeek to the top in P2, and Klaus Graf with an uncharacteristic mistake down in turn 1.
And gets into the bumps. And you know what? There's just, just carried a little bit more momentum. Couldn't get to the throttle soon enough. Gets himself, you know what? Klaus Graf is like a switch watch. I mean, that guy is just, boom, very, very precise. You don't see mistakes like that from him that often, but he also did that in the process of laying down a 25.7. So he's hauling.
Yeah, that upped the ante huge, didn't it? So we're on board with Ryan Briscoe. Currently, looking at the run order here, it sits second in the P2 category. It is still Johannes van Overbeek, who just turned a 127.883. That's a 129.1 for Briscoe. Huge lap for Johannes, who, folks, I think is one of the great stories of this season. Until Sebring had never driven anything that was a prototype car, that made his entire career in sports cars and sedans with roofs, did an exceptional job and has been amazing this season. And his change.
And it's really picked up his game. You know, again, he was great at a GT car. Now he's having to learn down. Learn downforce and bravery.
Looks like maybe the rear's locked just a little bit on the downshift. Perhaps the rear tire's locked a little bit. That made the back end of the car slide at an incredibly high speed. To me, sitting in here, I can only imagine what it felt like from the cockpit, but Van Overbeek
cowboying it a little bit. And you know what, here's the thing, is that, you know, you see as I think this is Sharp coming by here. You know, when a driver leaves a team or you have discontent like they had there, you know, a lot of times that's very upsetting and unbalancing. And you can see right now, Scott Sharp, what does he want more than anything else? Well, he was teamed with Guy Cosmo. So what Sharp wants to do is do the best job, qualify that thing up to the front so that be like, you don't, you know, we really don't need you, Guy Cosmo. And what Guy Cosmo is looking for is just the opposite.
It's just the opposite. Marino Franchitti now moving forward. Franchitti has never raced here, and this morning he shares the 552 with Guy Cosmo. They had a driveline problem, so Franchitti got no time this morning and has never raced here. In other words, this is discovery right here. He's just now learning the racetrack, and it comes in qualifying. Guy Cosmo also a little wrench of his back in practice this morning over the bump, so he visited a masseuse this afternoon and obviously felt well enough to get back to pit lane, but it shows you just how physical these cars, this racetrack can be.
Well, and think about Marino. Number one, the guy's wicked gifted. Number two, he figures his stuff out as we see Briscoe going to the top. But number three, you've got a brother that's pretty good around this place. So, you know, he's got his sources of information. You don't worry about Franchitti figuring this thing out.
See where he might end up here. He just turns a 29.2, but Briscoe a 27.1. Now to Van Overbeek's 27.6, half-second margin suddenly. And boy, Briscoe, that last time through the chicane, that was about as clean as we have seen through that chicane.
Scott Sharp improves up to third, right behind his teammate, about 0.2 of a second back. Marino Franchitti learning with every lap, going quicker with every lap, but he's going to have to find almost a second and a half to move into the top three.
He will figure it out. You know, each lap he's going to be getting faster and faster. Remember, race car drivers, good short-term memory. One guy with great memory right now is Klaus Graf at a 25.2, setting the world on fire in P1. But Marino, watch, each lap will be faster.
And a red flag out right now, so that stops the session. Debris at the chicane, 4 minutes left, so we are 10 minutes in. So the session would be official. They should be able to get this cleaned up very quickly, I would think. You see the debris.
You would think that after 3 years they would figure out how to do this chicane. I don't know. just
well,
myself.
Here's
I mean, it's a challenging deal what they are presented with here.
Well, what they're presented with is you see it right at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
There's the debris in the chicane, but at the bottom of the screen is a railroad track that they're driving over. There it is, and they've got to slow them down. They can't smooth it out well enough. Remember, it has to work again as a city on Monday morning, so they can't pave over the railroad track. They can't take it out. They can smooth it over in places, but they can't make it smooth enough. So the best way to deal with it is to slow the cars down before they get to it, because it's far enough down the straightaway they'd be at a high rate of speed when they get there. So that chicane is there for a purpose, not just slowing the cars down at the far end, but that chicane is there because of the railroad track. Getting the report is Johannes Van Overbeck, who actually hit the chicane hard enough to leave debris there, and he's kind of sealed his own fate if that's the case, because he won't get a chance to attack Ryan Briscoe. Safety workers out, looking for the debris.
I think we've got it from an onboard. It doesn't necessarily show him clipping anything, but see if there was any untoward movement in terms of the cockpit, Johnny.
Up through the gearbox, on the brakes through the first part, second part.
Our cameras are so stable, you don't really see the pounding that the cars take, but there's the railroad track. The safety workers will get out of the way, and just over 2 minutes to go. Conceivably, you could go back out. You've got time to get back to the line and do another lap. For Marino Franchitti, it might be a good idea because every lap is learning, but they've got to go green first, and as of right now, the red's still being shown.
Yeah, I think that if they do go green, Marino for sure will be going out. I don't know that anybody else necessarily would gain a whole lot.
I think it'll be hard to do, Johnny, to gain very much. Green flag is now back out. We'll see if anybody elects to go out. Klaus Graf climbing out of the number 6 Muscle Milk entry. Right now he's got just over a second and a half over Chris Dyson. He doesn't need to go back out for such a short period of time. Do hear engines firing, and indeed Marino Franchitti in the 552 will continue his education.
You know what? You would think that the guys at Muscle Milk would have like unbelievable confidence. You come here, you've been dominating all season long. But Baltimore, this is a racetrack because of that chicane, because of those railroad tracks. Anything can happen. Remember, last year they had serious mechanical issues with their gearbox. They couldn't get their gears, and the Dyson car came through to win the race. So I mean, even though right now they've got over a second and a half on Dyson, anything is possible. As we see Marino then going out, like we said, Brian, get some laps, get track knowledge.
It's why we race. You don't just come and run in qualifying. You've got to then endure 2 hours tomorrow, and we talked about it earlier today amongst ourselves. It's a 2-hour race, one of the shortest on the schedule, but it may be one of the most difficult on the schedule just because of the track, how abusive it is on the equipment, and it's going to be tough as far as strategic calls go. You may be able to do it with only one pit stop, but you're going to have to be perfect with your strategy, and you may need a little lady luck on your side as well.
A lot of luck, because historically, first corner every single year there have been wrecks, and so you've got to get through the start of the race, no issues, no problems, and a lot of times that's easier said than done, Brian, because when you get to that first braking zone, it's so bumpy. It invites cold tires to lock up and drivers to lose control.
Well, we got some close championships in all the classes, and as you said, Brian, this is now we're into those last few races. Points, championships are going to be decided, and you throw into the schedule a race that is, in many ways, less about getting your strategies right. You still have to do all that, but you need to simply survive this place. And with those bumps, Johnny, you're talking about it, so many other things come into play here. That luck element is huge.
Championships on the line. You see the little bit of lock up there. You bring up a great point. You may not win the championship here, but you can throw it all away if you're up towards the top. If you gain two points, you lose 2 points. Maybe that's not a big deal as long as the car rolls onto the trailer and you can roll on to Circuit of the Americas in Austin. Franchitti does not improve, and the checkers are out. The session is done. Klaus Graf will celebrate another American Le Mans Series pole, and Muscle Milk well on their way to clinching the championship. 70% is the mark they're looking for in the race tomorrow, and if they do, they will win the P1 championship for both teams. and drivers. Let's head down to Jamie Howe.
As Klaus continues to congratulate his teammate Klaus. Stellar qualifying effort, but we saw you have a bit of a moment there. How challenging is this track?
Well, I mean, you got to be fully concentrated all the time, you know, the slightest mistake, and, you know, you have a very small mistake can have a huge impact, so you have to be fully on it, and it's very bumpy. These cars are very rough to drive around here, so you have to be careful to, you know, don't go too soft with the setup and still be aggressive, and that's what we did, and the Muscle Milk car was really good now in qualifying. I'm very happy with the performance.
Even with all of the success that you guys have had as an organization, you have not stood on the top step of the podium here. What do you have to do tomorrow in order to secure this #1 spot?
Well, just run clean, and I mean, you know, it's very hard. So, I mean, for driver and machine, I think that could be a factor. Make no mistakes, overtaking. It's not easy. Everybody's pretty close together lap time-wise. So we'll see what we have tomorrow, but we certainly want to win this one.
Grab that flag. Congratulations.
Congratulations indeed. You heard him say, you got to get through the traffic, you got to get through the braking zones, you got to get through the high temperatures, and it's all going to be a challenge. In the Prototype 2 category, Ryan Briscoe, man, back with a vengeance. Level 5, extreme speed, level 5. It's going to be a good one, and you wonder, is there a little bit of bad blood in there with those driver shakeup? Ryan Briscoe back, like I said, with a vengeance. Justin?
Oh, yeah, Ryan, what a lap, mate. I mean, we were just saying you're back. It's vengeance. This car was so good out there. Looked beautiful through the corners. But this is really an old school kind of street track. It's like a road course flat out, but with walls just inches off the edge.
It's a crazy track. I love it here, but it's one of the most challenging and one of the more physical ones we go to. You've got half the track, which is really bumpy concrete. And then this end of the track is like a high-speed road course with smooth asphalt. But you've always got the walls there to remind you. So it's a challenging track. The car was great today. I'm really proud of the guys, and it's great to be back in the series and start off with a pole today.
Well, enjoy this evening, because tomorrow, mate, you're really going to have to work even harder. Well done.
Yeah, that's when the hard work comes in. Car is getting ready to go back to the paddock. They'll do the preparation for the race tomorrow, and it is going to be a good one. We saw great qualifying. Makes you think the race is going to be just as good. Tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, ALMS.com and ESPN 3, and then Sunday, noon Eastern Time on ABC. What are we looking for tomorrow, Greg?
Well, I think we heard Klaus say it, the times are so close. His time at 1:25.2, Briscoe's at 27.1, PC at 28.2. We're talking just a couple of seconds. Traffic is going to be immense for everybody to deal with.
Johnny?
For me, it's turn 1. Get through there clean, and you have an opportunity to win here. You lock up, you get in the back of somebody gets into you, it's game over.
2 new teammates standing there talking. Guy Cosmo talking to his new co-driver, Marino Franchitti, and they're going to discuss the track a little bit. Guy knows it well. We'll bring you the race tomorrow. It is going to be exciting. Don't miss it. It will be absolutely spectacular. A short race, but intense from just outside Baltimore Harbor. Good stuff. For Johnny O'Connell, Greg Kramer, Jamie Howe, Justin Bell, Jeremy Shaw, I'm Brian Till. Thanks for joining us for qualifying. Make sure you join us for the race. We'll see you then. So long, everyone.